It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Now the pressure's all on me. My wife once asked the meaning of joy. I've asked before other questions about the past, and you've told me to stop talking and, concentrate on now. So can you help me understand tolerance and intolerance? And is there even a place for tolerance in my own reality? Is it something I have to deal with? Is it something I can just let go?
It is one of the most ineffective, unproductive, not good for you emotions that you could ever foster and encourage. Because what it is a looking right at something unwanted, feeling the guidance of the being off track, and then the learning to accept it as a feeling that you are willing to endure.
That's good.
In other words, we get it that it's a good idea not to misbehave in public. They might drag you off an airplane. We understand that sometimes you just have to kind of suck it up and not say anything. But when you deliberately practice recognizing an emotion that doesn't feel good, which means every time my inner being is looking at this differently, but I'm choosing to stay focused upon it in opposition to my inner being, so the knot still remains in my stomach, but I don't do anything about it. And in fact, in an attitude of seeking tolerance, most humans would say tolerance is not liking it and just accepting it, while intolerance might mean not liking it and throwing a fit. Well, maybe it's better not to throw the fit, but it certainly isn't good for you to look at something unwanted and not do anything about adjusting your vibration. It's like the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy is looking right at something uncomfortable and just holding myself in that discomfort, while compassion is being in alignment first, and then from my state of alignment with my inner being, then looking at whatever the subject is, but I don't feel the discomfort of it. Instead, I see it through the eyes of source. And because I hold my vibrational stance, now I'm bringing to the table, I'm bringing to the mix pure positive energy, which means I might influence the whole room upward under those conditions. With empathy, I just have to go down to meet it. Where with compassion, I stay with who I am. So I don't take a dip in my vibration, which means I might not help them, but I don't hurt me. And there's a stronger probability that they may come upward if we're able to play together longer with me feeling and behaving in my physical form like my inner being always behaves. Esther said to us early on, when she began understanding emotions and where we stood in relationship to her, and one day in the midst of strong negative emotion, she said to us, Abraham, I think you should come over here with me so that I don't feel so bad. Because she knew the reason she felt bad was because we had different vibrational frequencies, and she had moved so far from who she really is. So she tried to talk us in to coming there with her so that she wouldn't feel the separation so much. And we said, you got to come where we are. You got to come where we are.
Thank you.
Everything that we're talking about, in fact, is about being less conditional. Because it's really hard to be so, here we are in this physical manifestation part, wrapped up in the details of what's already manifested, which as far as we're concerned is old news. It's like gum that you've chewed all the flavor out of. The juice isn't there. So here's this life experience that you're giving your attention to, and as you give your attention to it, then you want to feel good, of course. And so you become, as an individual or as a parent or as an employer, as a mass consciousness, you become demanding of the details of your reality, because when you look at something that feels good to you, you say, oh, I'd like more of that. And when you look at something that feels bad to you, you say, I want less of that. So you start passing laws. We will not stand for that. We want more of that. Problem is, you can't come into any agreement about what you really think you need in order to feel good. Have you noticed? Different people want different things, and the world is a big enough place for you to all be able to find satisfaction in the diverse world in which you are living. But when you believe that that condition has to change before you can feel good, now you are attempting to control the uncontrollable. You see, you've got to find a way. And that's what a lot of people call tolerance. I know I can't control it, so I'll just suffer about its existence. But that suffering festers until there are rebellions. Have you noticed? Where unconditional love or unconditional alignment is because you are no longer believing that over here where all the flavors already chewed out of the gum is where it's at. Unconditional love is where you understand that there is a vibrational reality that is in the state of becoming, and you give your undivided attention to the unconditioned. You give your undivided attention to what you are wanting to allow to become. Did you feel that? We'll talk more about it as we move along.
The other thing I wanted to ask is being raised, and my parents did a wonderful job. I love them very much, and I kind of figured out who I was along the way. But I fear that what I think I am or who I am is attracting things that I don't want. My family has gone through a couple years of some pretty heavy medical situations.
Well, before you go further, we just want to clear some things up. It is natural that as you are, as you say, being raised, or as you are moving through time, that you undoubtedly, everyone does, you've picked up some beliefs along the way that may not be serving you. And a belief is just a thought that you continue to think, and a belief is just a thought that has some momentum going. But here's the thing, you never need to worry, because you have beliefs that served you as you were moving along. And as you've been becoming more and more and more who you are, so let's say you're standing in the midst of something unwanted. After a long time of believing something, now let's say you're standing in the midst of now experiencing or witnessing something that you don't want. Well, that contrast is causing you to launch more clarification into your vortex, a sort of amended desire. When you come to realize that your only work, your singular work, is to look in the direction of what you want and less in the direction of what you've got, and that every time you feel negative emotion, it means that you are disallowing what you really want, it is not difficult to let go of old beliefs. And it is not a good idea to condemn the old beliefs, because many of them served you as you were moving along. When you were really little, you liked little chairs. There were a lot of things that were meaningful to you when you were younger that are no longer meaningful to you. In other words, it's normal that things would continue to evolve. But as long as you get it, that the true evolution of who you are, let's say this in a way you've never heard it before. So you were before you came into this physical body. Do you accept that? And that larger part of you still remains as your soul or inner being or God force. So let it be also logical to you that as you are out here on this leading edge, can you hear this? We're not saying out here on this exploratory edge or on this being tested edge. We're not saying out here being tried. There's so much belief that doesn't serve you that goes something like, well, my inner being or God or whatever you want to call this non-physical energy is all complete and perfect. And the reason that it's all complete and perfect is because it's already proven itself. And now I'm here in the process of proving myself. No, that is not what's happening. You are an extension of that, and you are living the leading edge of that. If there is to be eternity, and there is, it is our promise to you, then isn't it logical that this contrast and these new desires that are being born as you are continuing to stand where you are and realize what could be better, what could be more? Everything is forward looking here with you. And so when you get a glimpse of something you want and you acknowledge it from your vantage point, and your inner being gives undivided attention to it, now it has already become, this new reality has already become in the vibrational ethers. And even with the worst stories that you as humans tell about the becoming of your earth, and they're pretty bad stories that you tell, but there is an understanding that the thoughts are turning to things, that there was consciousness that then brought this reality into being. And that consciousness that brought this reality into being is still bringing that reality into being. And you are a part of that consciousness that is continuing to bring that reality into being. So here you are. You get to do the choosing and the asking. Source rendezvous with that, shores it up, gathers cooperative components, and makes certain that the evolution that you've discovered will take place. And the only thing that ever goes not wrong, but ever is uncomfortable, is that you who discovered it, you who asked for it, you who gave birth to it, you who created it, deprive yourself of it by continuing to hold yourself in the old reality rather than going with the new reality that you carved out. That's the best that we've ever said it. And so your emotions, you want to know why.